Big question is, what does this mean for the Wiz? It opens up the East, obviously. We all just assume that Boston, it sort of has a stranglehold on it.
Well, the 76ers are right there with them.
The Sixers are up and coming. They have so much talent.
And the Raptors had actually the best record in the East.
So they're in the same boat they always were, which is basically, maybe the fourth or fifth best team in the East if things go well.
Pacers are a rising team the way Oladipo played, but
Milwaukee.
Those teams, I would put them in kind of the same bracket as the Wizards.
It's almost like
for fourth or fifth.
It's almost like a minor league. It's
Well, the whole Eastern Conference is the minor leagues. I mentioned this early in the show. I just went through each position trying to figure out the top 5 players at each position. It's opinion, but easily 18 of the top 25 players in the NBA are in the Western Conference. Yeah. And all the last MVPs, Steph Curry, James Harden, Kevin Durant, and of course LeBron, they're now all in the West.
Who was the last? It was a good question. The last Eastern Conference MVP that wasn't LeBron.
Man, I don't know.
I'll look it up.
I have to look. It's probably somebody that's out of the league.
Did D-Wade ever win one?
I don't know.
Probably not.
You might be right. Let me see.
Dirk Nowitzki won one, but he's a Western Conference player.
Allen Iverson, maybe.
No, Derrick Rose.
Yeah, Rose.
Derrick Rose in 2010, right. And then before that, I think it's Allen Iverson.
And Derrick Rose is in the Western Conference. Not that he's a great player anymore, but he re-signed with the Minnesota Timberwolves. I mean, just look at the Western Conference, the teams. They're just loaded. Like, Oklahoma City is not considered a contender, but they have Paul George and Russell Westbrook. Those are 2 of the top 10 players in the league.
Well, where would you put the Celtics if you did a power ranking right now? I would put the Celtics 3 or 4.
You probably put them 3 or 4.
I'm putting them ahead of Oklahoma City. I'm putting them ahead of the Lakers. I'm putting them ahead of Portland. I'm obviously putting them ahead of Philly.
Assuming everybody's healthy?
Assuming everyone's healthy, I'm putting the Celtics 3. I'll go Golden State, Houston, Boston.
Yeah, the
and
Eastern
then the next
Conference,
few are probably Western Conference.
Eastern Conference may still have 2 of the top 7 or 8 teams.
But you know where that puts the Wiz? That puts the Wiz like 13 or 14.
But if it was
in the whole NBA,
they talked about it. If they didn't have conferences, but the teams are in the conferences, probably out of the top 16 teams, 13 would, or I would say 11 would be Western Conference.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, I mean the West is loaded.
They're teams, that will miss the playoffs in the Western Conference they would be contenders in the East.
Right, that's why I say I think the Wizards are probably like 13 or 14
and
overall.
Then guys who get All-Star game bonuses in the West, they're kind of screwed. Like how's
I think they'll be all right.
Yeah, it's fine, but how's LaMarcus Aldridge going to make an All-Star team again?
He's got to have a bomb year.
The forwards include LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Jimmy Butler, Paul George, Anthony Davis, Draymond Green.
Nobody's tuning into the All-Star game to see LaMarcus Aldridge.
I get it, but my point is that those guys, like Nikola Jokic, he won't make an All-Star team ever. Karl Anthony Towns.
Yeah, but you don't have to worry about it. He's got 148 million.
Right.
I'm sure he'll be fine with not making an All-Star team.
But this, we learned this from, the Caps were a team that won it all this year. A team that generally has had continuity. Minor tweaks, but bring back the core. That's the philosophy of this Wizards team, clearly, to just kind of bring back the core, tweak the edges, and maybe that'll be more competitive in the Eastern Conference now.
You see how they got to this spot, though, because when each one of their deals were up, other than Otto, it was tremendous pressure to re-sign him, right? When you had to re-sign John. When Beal's deal was up, there may have been some, argument whether he's truly a max player, but if you could get that on the open market, it kind of made him one. And then the Otto one was up for debate, but they thought he could develop into that third piece, and he is the third piece, but he's not as good as and assertive as he needs to be.
If they're healthy, if they play to their capabilities, they're a good team. They're not a great team.
They could be a top 4 team in the Eastern Conference. And maybe they could get lucky in a series and maybe beat Boston. But it's hard to imagine. They played Boston pretty well the last couple of years, but they weren't at full strength.
Right.
Yeah. Well, they're not beating Boston this year if Boston's at full strength.
Let's go to. I wouldn't think so.
By the way, Tatum and Jaylen Brown are going to get better.
Well, those guys are studs.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We don't really know how good Boston can be because we didn't see Boston at full strength. This year, we probably will. I mean, But
I was
they are
reading-
loaded.
I was reading somebody say that he thought, Tatum is great, but everyone keeps assuming he's going to be so much better. He says he's already pretty great. There isn't that much room to get that much better.
Well, just get the ball more.
Well, there's only so many shots when you have Kyrie and Hayward.